Are we live yet? Can you see me? Are we live yet? Am I blurry?
See me?
Why am I blurry? I tried so hard to get this to work, and I don't know if you guys saw, there was like 40 live streams. Am I blurry? Okay. Chase Louise! I was starting to get mad. Starting to get a little angry. Hi, you guys. Oh my goodness. How is oh, today's Mother's Day. This is our second Mother's Day, I think, that we've gone live together, right? Wow. Or is this? Yeah, this is our second one. This might be our third. If we've done 124 live streams, every single Sunday we've gone live, and it's in 124. There's how many weeks in a year? I can't do the math, so somebody else do it, please. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I know we definitely did another Mother's Day episode. Today we're not really going to be talking about Mother's Day things. I mean, we can talk a little bit about mothers because it's a little bit related to the subject, but let's say hi to everybody first. Hi Prudence, Casey's here, the Calico Cat's here. Hi Kaya, hi Jasmine. Collectively Neurospicy. I like your name. Irina's here, Christy's here. Hello, how are you guys? So, oh, Val sent you a Mother's Day gift box? Denise, that's so cute. He's such a sweetheart, huh? I know he told me Happy Mother's Day too. I noticed that he said that right before I went live, and I need to respond to him. I know there's a lot of people that would still celebrate Mother's Day for the women that didn't have kids, and I thought it was kind of cute. But yeah, there is a part of me that feels like I I love my mom, but there's times where I feel like I want to celebrate her birthday and celebrate her. Definitely. Like, happy birthday, mom. Here's a gift. You know, I love you. But sometimes I don't feel, and maybe this is something I need to work through, but sometimes I don't feel like sending her a Mother's Day card or sending her a Mother's Day gift because when I left the cult, she decided to not it almost felt like she was revoking her mother like position. Like she didn't want to be my mother anymore because she was choosing, you know what I'm saying? I felt like, and this may all just be in my head, but internally I took a lot of the decisions she made towards me when I left the religion, when I left the cult. I took it as her being like, I don't want to be your mom anymore, you know? So there's a part of me that feels like I'm disrespecting myself by going out of my way to try to be like, love me, mother, here's a gift for Mother's Day. Because I've been rejected so much, you know? There's been so many times where I'm like, can I see my family? And they're like, no, you know? So it's like, Mother's Day sometimes is and I'm growing to just grow past it where like I don't want to feel guilt for not sending a gift. Like I'll say Happy Mother's Day, I'll, you know, acknowledge that you're my mother, but here's the weird thing is I don't feel any guilt never saying Happy Father's Day to my dad. He never tells me happy birthday. So I'm like, there's no relationship there. There's no guilt for not acknowledging him as my father. He doesn't acknowledge me as his daughter. But I feel like there's a little bit of guilt with my mom because she did, you know, raise me and she did, I guess, keep me alive. So there's a little bit of I guess a weird something I probably should be talking to my therapist about. But yeah, we're not going to be talking too much about mothers. I kind of wanted to just clarify what about my last video. There was a comment on there. Laced up tight says, sometimes moms don't really deserve to be celebrated on Mother's Day. As much as I love my mom, she had created a lot of damage in myself and sibling. Yeah, and this is the thing. It's not that I'm like, no, you don't deserve to be celebrated. It's and actually maybe it is a little bit of that. But it's also like Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, there's a lot of damage that was created, and I don't want to say, "Happy Mother's Day, let's gloss over all of this, the shit," you know? It feels hypocritical to pretend that nothing happened, you know? And it also feels like it's disrespecting myself to pretend that, "Oh, nothing happened, you love your mom, just power through it because it's family." But I think about this all the time. If it's family, family should be the ones treating you the best, not the worst. But there's so many cases where the family treats you the worst because they're family and they get to treat you that way because you're going to be there no matter what. But that's so wrong. Um, anyway, so I'm gonna kind of shift to this comment that I saw in one of my videos that they said that. So I'm not trying to like call out this person, but I think that their perception is very interesting. So I want to dive into it deeper. So on one of my videos, I talked about how you shouldn't allow another person's opinion of you, and you shouldn't seek validation so much with other people. You should seek it within yourself more. And then someone I think I offended them because they were like, well, so basically, if words of affirmation is my love language, then you're saying I'm insecure, or kind of like I think I triggered them by saying that you shouldn't be giving so much so much I mean, you can watch the video again. I basically said over and over and over, do not keep seeking validation externally if you don't have that internally. You need to have it internally. Internal validation is way more important than external validation. But this person took it as, oh, so if my love language is words of affirmation, then I'm just insecure. And that's definitely not true. But the people closest in your life obviously should be saying positive words of affirmation to you. The people in your close circle should be positive influences on you. Obviously, we talked about that in the video saying, you know, if you're surrounded by people who are talking bad about other people, they're also talking bad about themselves versus people that are lifting each other up. They're also lifting themselves up. So you definitely need to be around people who are willing to be that positive influence on you, but your opinion of yourself should be always trumping everyone else's opinion of you. And what I mean by that is you should know yourself the most, right? So you shouldn't be allowing someone who doesn't know you as well as you know you to tell you who you are, you know? And I think a lot of times when in speaking from my own experience, when I was in relationships with people who I wanted them to tell me who I was because I didn't know who I was. So I was allowing them to create my own reality, which is giving them the power of my reality because I did not create who I was yet. I did not have a firm foundation of who I was. So then it was able to be, you know, like you think that I'm this type of person? Okay, then I am that type of person. I caught myself doing that a lot and defining myself by the characteristics that other people said that I had and trying to like build together who Amanda is off of other people's opinions of me that maybe they don't even know who they are. So why would they know who you are, you know? So my whole point in saying all of that is yes, it's okay to have positive validation from people around you, but their opinion of you, yes, it matters, but it does not matter as much as your own opinion of you because you are going to be in a relationship with yourself forever. You may not be in a relationship with all of these other people forever. So your relationship with yourself and your opinion of yourself is completely the most important thing, right? This is going to be forever. You are going to be in this body until you die. So you need to have a firm foundation for this. And so does that make sense? I was kind of shocked when I saw that comment because I was like, I feel like you're just looking for a reason to not like what I'm saying because and I did this too. I found relationships and I wanted that person to define me. I didn't want to define me. I wanted him to define me. And because it felt safe. Because I came from that kind of a lifestyle. So it felt safe to have someone else dictating and narrating who I was. Hi, laced up tight. This is my first live, everyone. So supportive. It makes me want to cry. I know that it's honestly, I have cried so many times, happy tears, just seeing how you guys treat each other in the comments and how you guys have messaged me and commented on my, like, I've so many times been like, how have I been so blessed? And I really think it's just you guys. You guys have been so the greatest community I could ever imagine being a part of. I'm so grateful. Comfort in the discomfort of being degraded and stuck seeking validation. Yeah, and I'm not saying that that person that commented is in that position, but it reminded me of when I did not want to grow out of that relationship, and that relationship defined me so much that I would hear only what I wanted to hear, you know? And I don't know if that's like maybe that person only saw like a snippet of the video and was like, "Hey, you know, that context, da da da." And I could see how it could be misconstrued. Thank you. You like my chair and my bedspread? I got both of these on eBay. It's just like a furry blanket. Well, fake fur, but I feel like it makes it look more like bougie, fluffy, fluffy bougie. But washing these is a nightmare. You can't dry them. You have to. I blow dry and comb them like a dog. Brush them. If their opinion is negative, bye. Don't need negativity. I'll take positive opinions any day. Yeah, and so that's the thing too is I understand when you have someone in your close circle giving you criticism, positive criticism, right? Positive feedback, things like that. But when we give too much power to someone and their opinion trumps our own, we can start to have a skewed perception of reality because to allow someone else who's outside of our body to dictate who we are. They don't know what we're thinking. They don't know what our core beliefs and why we do what we do. They know why they do what they do. But it's sometimes it freaks me out to think this. There's you can only know another person as you can never know them to the fullest because they are the only ones that are going to know them to, and some of us never do know ourselves to the fullest because we never put our time and energy into that. And who was saying this? They were saying you can only know someone else to the extent that they know themselves. But a lot of people don't know themselves, right? So they're only showing you the version of themselves that they think they are. And sometimes, I mean, you can kind of see through it sometimes, and then other times you're just like, well, you're just taking it as face value, right? You just that's who they are. So sometimes it freaks me out thinking about that. Like you can be with someone for so long and maybe never truly know them if they don't really know themselves, or never truly know them because they're the only ones that will truly know them. Does that make sense? Kind of like when you think of your relationship with yourself and the core person that you are. Sometimes when I think of how I try to portray myself and try to explain myself, even to try to dissect myself and show you guys who I am, there's so much that gets in the way of that. There's the communication of it, there's the understanding of it, there's the me still processing parts of myself. So it's so fascinating to think of, though. We're a lot more alike than we think, though. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent about it, but it's so interesting. To me, psychology and how our brains work and how we as humans, how we as humans coexist, it's just so fascinating to me. Like sociology. Has anyone taken sociology? So interesting how humans are so alike, even in different cultures, in different languages, in different places of the world. We're very similar. I miss your lives a lot because I usually go to bed early, but I watch them the next day. You're a positive ray of light in the world, and I'm glad I found you on YouTube. Aw, thank you, Elu. Elu? Yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've really enjoyed not doing the Culty cup of coffees with the numbered mans. Did you guys remember how I would get like so stressed out when I had to do order history? There was part of me that felt like I really had to do it because no one else was doing it, and other people were telling me, "Hey, you should do the numbered men series because you're numbering your lives." And I was like, "That's a really good idea." But I didn't realize how much work it was going to be. It was a lot of work. It was good. I don't regret it. But I feel a lot happier now that we can just kind of talk about psychology and growth and processing and healing. I like that stuff a lot more than, and then this guy married his sister, and then another sister, and then his niece. I don't know if I really want to know all of myself. There are scary parts of yourself, there are dark parts of yourself, but I think, um, and my opinion could be wrong, but I feel like to fully love yourself and to be able to truly love yourself at the deepest level, you need to uncover those parts of yourself, right? You need to know those parts of yourself. But it is scary. There's even times in therapy where I'm like, I don't want to talk about this because it's so um like a fresh wound. That's some deep, deep philosophical stuff. We can never truly know another, and we often feel lonely because of it. But I do think that the obviously we're social creatures, so that's why we feel lonely if we're, not interacting with others. But I feel like you feel less lonely when you can dissect yourself and understand why do I do what I do. Uh, Dissect why you feel guilt, why you feel shame, why what the fears are coming from. To be able to understand yourself more, you can trust yourself more, and then life feels like you're less alone. Even though you're still alone, you're still the same person, like in the same position, but growing that trust with yourself can make you feel fulfilled, you know? I I excused my mom a lot because she has epilepsy and sometimes she gets bad and can't help with my siblings. I really started to get mad when I started being the level-headed one of raising them. Yeah, I definitely feel that as far as because I was the second oldest of 10 kids. So when you have to start raising the children because your mom can't raise 10 kids all by herself, so then you become the parent too. I could see a lot of resentment in, especially in my older sister because she was the oldest and she was our second mom. And then I was the second oldest, so then I became a mom. And so there becomes resentment because it's like because of your choices, now I have to suffer. But I don't regret taking care of the family. Like I loved that I could be a part of the family and a part of raising my siblings. But there is, I think, some resentment that you have to work through when your parents make you parentify you when you're still a child. It affects you in ways that we don't realize until we're adults, right? Because to me, I feel like one of the deepest ways it's affected me is that I've been working my whole life. I've been having to be responsible for other people's kids, for other kids that are not even that much younger than me, but I had to be the parent to them, right? Taking them to school, to church when I didn't even have a license. I was 15 years old, and then being held accountable as if I was an adult, right? Uh, there's resentment that you have to work through, and when I became an adult, I feel like there was this part of me that just I would get so burned out. Like I didn't want to do anything for anyone anymore because as a child, it was like I that was my whole childhood, and as an adult, it was like I was chasing childhood. I was like I want to be free. Why I felt like the weight of having to work and do anything was like unfair because I didn't get to have a free childhood. I didn't get to be a child. Does that make sense? I don't know if anyone else has gone through something similar. Amanda, I totally use some of your videos as basis topics in therapy. Wow, that makes me so happy. One of my favorite compliments is, you should be a therapist. I'm like, thank you. I I I would love to be. The problem is though, because like the therapy that I would want to do is for people coming out of these cults. But when you become a therapist, you can't be a therapist for people you know. So it's like, I don't know. I just have a calling to that because I have obviously deep roots there. Amanda, you did great work on the Numbered Man series, but I love the new content. I think it was something you had to work through. Yeah, I think that it brought up a lot of triggers for me, definitely, especially when it came too close to home, like my dad's episode or my grandpa's episode. There was a lot of triggers as to feeling like there was no justice. So I think it was good though, because it brought up these things and brought it to fruition so that I could work on that inner healing. Because if you never talk about it, it just lays dormant. It doesn't mean it's not fixed. I mean, it doesn't mean it's fixed, right? It's just, it's still there. You're just not addressing it. I love these lives because they make me feel very validated. This is another good thing too, because it's like, we struggle talking about these things and to realize like for so long for me I was like no one's ever going to understand me because I came from this crazy cult. There's so much that's happened that I still have to unpack and I don't even know how to process. So how could I ever share it with someone else? They're going to think I'm crazy or there's never going to be an understanding. But the more I've done these lives with you guys, the more I realize like you you guys have gone through very similar things and I'm so glad that it's not taboo like it used to be to talk about abuse, to talk about, you know, mental health, things that were so taboo. Even just I feel like when I was growing up, it was like, "Oh, you don't go to therapy. Therapy's for crazy people." It's like, no, people that are in therapy are there because of you crazy people that aren't going to therapy. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for all your help. Happy Mother's Day to all. Thank you, Patty. Hi, Crystal. Learning who you are is the only way to evolve to be a better person. Growth is the point of this journey, but it's definitely important to remember nuance. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. Yeah, I think that's something that it can take a long time to grow out of. For me, it did. I let my past define me a lot, and I felt like it was going to be so hard to have a normal life because of where I came from. Um, who said this to me? I think it was Todd. Was it Todd or was it Mark? It was one of you guys. He said, the past is important, but it's not as important as the future, as where you're going. But I do think that if we don't work through those things in our past, it will affect where we're going in the future. For example, going back to the Mother's Day thing, when you don't work through your inner voice. For me, my inner voice was my mom, which is sad to say. My inner voice was very negative, very self-critical, very judgmental, and I thought about it and I was like, that came from my mother because my mother was the one always. Not to talk bad, my mom just was very big on appearance. Appearance was something that was so important because um, it's true in the order. If you wanted to be a first wife, you, and this is the thing. When I was a kid, I was like, I don't care. But my mom was like, you're going to have more opportunities if you're a first wife. And you did see that. You did see that the legal wife, in a lot of instances, got the father's attention more, and they were the legal wife, so they technically had more rights in some ways. But that's the way my mom saw it. I saw it though as more of a ball and chain. if I was a plural wife, he's not on my kid's birth certificate, so I can just leave him if I want to, and he can't do anything about it because he put a fake name on the birth certificate. But yeah, so she was very critical of going out without your hair done or your outfit looking like perfect. And I feel like it was to a point that was too OCD to where I, as a child, was like, I would all the time say, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, because it felt like a standard that was too high to always be having. But she was right in a sense, right? You taking care of yourself and making sure you're aware of how you're presenting yourself can give you opportunities or take opportunities from you. But I think if you take it to a point of an extreme, anything to an extreme, it can really affect your psyche to a point where you just don't care anymore. I would get to points where I would care so much because we have to care about God, and we have to care about what Paul says, and we have to care about the one above you, and you have to fast and pray and da 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 da. And so I would go on these like, it feel like a binge of just being a good girl, and then you're like, it's not feasible. So then I would just not care. I'd be like, fuck it. Because it's not healthy. And because it's not what you internally want to be doing. It's what everyone else is telling you to be doing. So it doesn't, no matter what, if you're living a life where you're following what everyone else is telling you what to do, but you're never tapping into your inner self, I don't think you can find that true happiness, because you're living, kind of like what I was saying in the video, you're living for another man's heaven. It's not for your heaven, it's for what everyone else thinks that heaven should be. I'm the oldest of 6. I feel like I resent my mother because she never had time for me. She was always, oh yeah. I think I give my mom more credit just because I have the comparison of her and my dad. And my dad would come over like twice a week because he had 2 other wives, right? So it's like, I really praised my mom even when I was in the order, because I was very frustrated with how much praise the men got. There were so many women who would get up on stage when it was like, get up on stage and say what you're thankful for, and all these women would say, my dad's my hero, my dad, da, da, da. And I would be like, he doesn't even go here, like on Mean Girls. No, but like, you don't even know him. You don't even know your dad. Like, how do you love him, and how are you worshiping him when you don't even see him? Half these kids were like Paul's kids, right? And they only saw him once a month, if that. And they're like, I love my dad so much. I'm like, so it's like Santa Claus. You love him then the way you love Santa Claus, right? The idea of him, because he's never there. Does he exist? I don't know. Just kidding. But yeah, I feel the resentment that you can have for your mom for not giving as much. And I feel like I would have it more if I didn't see compare her to my dad. Because like, seeing the comparison of my dad and how his lack of effort, no effort, I really praised my mom for being a single mom and being like, she did the best with what she could. But there are points where, and I say this, and your mom's probably the same, she did the best she could. And in my mom's case, she did the best she could. But that doesn't make it, the mistakes that they made, it doesn't make it justifiable that you had to go through those things and the suffering. So I said it in the last video, but I'll say it again. To be able to understand your mom, it helps you to be able to heal. And understanding your mom, it does not justify the things that she's done negatively to you, but it can help you understand. Not justify, but understand where she was coming from, and hopefully be able to heal those wounds with her. But this book I'm reading, I'm such a slow reader, you guys, but I'm still reading that book on narcissism, and the woman says, Dr. Ramani, she says, you don't always have to forgive your abuser. You don't always have to forgive the narcissist in your life. You don't always have to forgive your parents. And I first disagreed with that, because I was like, well, I forgive because I want to have peace with myself. but she was like, I've never forgived my narcissistic abusers, and I sleep great at night. And I thought about it, and I was like, I guess, yeah, that's true, because sometimes to be able to forgive, it's hard to forgive when the person's not even asking for forgiveness. But I guess the definition of it too is a big part of it. Like, how do you move on without the forgiveness? And I think there is a way to move on and just close the door on the relationship without having necessarily like hate and a grudge that's holding yourself back, but also without having to forgive and like forgive and forget and move on. I never liked the quote forgive and forget. I don't agree with that. Forgive, don't forget. Because if you're forgiving and forgetting, you're going to allow it to happen over and over again. And that's not fair to you. That's not respectful to you and your boundaries. Anyways, is that making sense? At least Santa Claus brings you gifts. I know. At least Santa's nice. At least he's actually there once a year. Jeez. Thank you so much, Amanda. You really helped me understand my mom. I think that it's such a... You never have to understand your parents, but I really feel like it can help you to work through the resentment, right? Because a lot of the times, I think all the time, resentment really just hurts us. So, but that doesn't mean you have to go to your parents and say, I love you, I forgive you, even though they're continuing their bad behavior. No. But to be able to let it go and realize, okay, this is they had all these issues in the past. They aren't perfect. And yeah, now I have to go to therapy because they aren't perfect and because they made a lot of mistakes. But I'm healing those wounds and I'm moving past it. But I think a big part of that is putting that boundary up so that they cannot keep disrespecting you in the way that they did. The wounds that they have created, if they're still the type of person that they are, never apologizing, never acknowledging that they did anything wrong to you, there's going to be wounds that are needing to be healed. And the fact is, if you keep putting yourself in the line of fire with your parents, the wounds are not going to heal. So you have to put that boundary up to be able to help with the resentment, right? Because the resentment's going to keep growing because your parents keep acting the way that they're acting. They're like, whoa, we're the parents. You need to listen to us and we can do no wrong. So in order to heal those wounds, you need to put the boundary up, let the wounds heal, love yourself in the way that your parents never could, sadly. That's the shitty part is I hated this realization for me, but it was finally the fact that I'm going to have to love myself the way that my parents aren't capable of. My parents are not capable of the unconditional love that I deserve. They weren't there to protect me when I should have been protected. They were not only were they not protecting me, they were putting me in the line of fire. And if I'm going to sit and wait around for them to finally come full circle and love me the way I deserve, I'm going to be waiting forever. So the way to heal that is to just you have to love yourself in the way that I look at it as how would I love my own child? And then trying to love myself in the way that I would love my own child. And it's a love that I even think if I had a child, I would be very skeptical of having them around my toxic family because I know how you guys treat young kids and I know how you treated me, so I don't want that to rub off on my child. Like, I fought so hard to have a good life for this child. Why would I put them in harm's way again? So to have that type of love but for yourself, right? It's so hard to just naturally do, especially when your whole life you were kind of like spat on as a kid. You're used to that getting spat on behavior, but it's so interesting to think how you think you deserve it, but you don't think your child deserves it. Isn't that interesting? Like you have a love that's higher than yourself for your own. My mom was the youngest of 7, so she was super babied and spoiled. I think she expected to still be babied and do whatever she wants. I never went without physically, just without emotionally. Yeah. I do feel like like there were parts where I wish that my mom would have been there more emotionally, but I remember times where she had to check out emotionally. Like there was so much going on, like my dad marrying his own half sister, having kids with her, her having to just live this lifestyle of the order. I think that she just on the regular would mentally check out. When you're in survival mode for so long, you go zombie mode. You because it's too much to allow your emotions to be at the forefront. You're going to break down over and over and over because this is inhumane. So you become numb. And it's like at this point you're keeping the kids alive. You're not really caring about the emotional well-being of the child. You're just caring about keeping the child alive because that is your only capacity at this point. That's the part though that bothers me too is I mean a lot bothers me, but my dad would always say, you know, these people are selfish for not having kids and you're selfish for not wanting to have kids as young as possible, but it's like you're selfish for having kids in an environment that is so unhealthy that the mother is turning herself off her emotionally because she can't handle the survival mode. You can't even be around to feed these kids, and yet you don't think that you're selfish in any way. You can't even provide a life for these kids, but you're not selfish and you're continuing to have kids in this environment that is there. It's not promoting the child's emotional stability at all. It's abusive, so many other things. It's so twisted how they can say that someone who chooses not to have kids because they don't have the means to take care of the child, that is selfish versus someone who pops out 10 kids and can't take care of them, can't even take care of themselves. That's selfless? You really think these kids are gonna, like when my dad, I've said the same thing every time. Well, you wouldn't be here if it weren't for polygamy. That's fine. I hate it here, actually. I would like a refund. I agree. I didn't have children for this reason. 33 with the same partner for 17 years, but religion ruined parenthood for me. Yeah, it's like if I'm gonna risk ruining my child's psyche, like I couldn't live with the guilt of knowing that my child has to do so much therapy because I was a terrible mom. Like I still want my kid to have, I don't even have a kid, but if I did have a kid, I would still encourage therapy regardless. Like I think therapy is such a healthy thing. But if a child was having to struggle and have a hard time and have a self-hate relationship with himself because of me, because I did that, I would feel so much guilt. And I would feel like I failed the child. Trauma is dealt with by humor. It's so true. It's the easiest way to talk about trauma is to laugh about it. Not wanting to have kids because you know what they will be exposed to is selfless, not selfish. And this is, I think, also where being self aware comes into play, right? Someone who is very self aware of what they are capable of, they're going to know if they can actually handle raising a child. But when you're in this cult, a lot of the times it's children getting married and then raising children. So a child really has no concept of the true nature of raising a child because they are still a child. So a lot of the times these women get into it when they're very young because these men are pressuring them into it, and then and now they're stuck, right? I can't imagine having several. I know. So I if I were to get married when they wanted, um, which would have been 17, and they would say have a baby every year, right? I would have probably as many babies as my mom has, almost 10 babies. Can you imagine? I would be so stressed out. That's the thing though. I think the way that we can be the best parents in the future, if that's what your goal is to have a child, is to heal your inner child. Nurture and heal that part of you, because like I was just saying, like sometimes the things in our past, if we don't work through them, they will be affecting our future. Meaning if we don't heal these parts of ourselves, they will be unintentionally projected onto the child. I caught myself doing that when I first left the order. I was um kind of like repeating the cycle of what my parents did to me. And I was repeating it with, sadly, when I was nannying in daycare. I was like, what? I don't know. It's hard to explain, because at the time you don't realize that it's not okay. At the time you don't realize that, like for example, I think I've told the story before. I was never taught to not finish the plate. I was taught that not finishing the plate at dinner is a disrespectful, right, and wasteful. So when I was nannying, I thought the child was being disrespectful by not finishing his food, and so I made him sit there, like, you will finish this food. And then not realizing that a child knows the concept of being full, but where I came from, it don't matter. You know, where I came from, the junior high, not the junior high, the Ensign Learning Center, they had someone by the garbage can guarding it to make sure that no kids threw food away. Like, you would have to go up with the tray, show them your tray, they'd be like, there's a piece of corn right there, eat it. Like, they would legit force feed these kids. Though that was how I was raised. So then I repeat the cycle because I don't know any better. Then I saw this child crying, and I'm so glad something clicked. I was like, why am I doing this? why do I care if this food gets wasted or not? It's not even my food. I'm a nanny. It's his food. So there were moments like this periodically when I left that made me, thank God too, because I think I was like so ready to have kids when I was 18. I was like, oh yeah, maybe in like a year I'll have like 10 kids. But then realizing, being around kids, being like, whoa, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, this is the way the order was, and it is not healthy. And I need to work through these things because I don't want to be repeating the cycle. And it's crazy too how we think it's so normal, like to shame ourselves and to shame other people and to shame our children, but it's not healthy. It's not a way that we want to be. It's not going to help the child progress. It's not helping us progress to shame ourselves. I was raised the same way about the food. I have a hard time throwing away food now. Oh yeah, thank God I've finally grown out of that. And in the beginning though, so we were filming Escaping Polygamy, and the producers were at the table, and this is when I realized it was a big issue, because I think it was Jessica or Andrea that was like, "Oh yeah, you like I legit was like, everybody's just wasting all of their food." I was like asking for a bunch of boxes. I'm like, "We can't waste all of this food." And Jessica, or else Andrea, I can't remember which one, but they started laughing and they were like, "Yeah, I remember when I used to do that when I first left the order." But I was like a food hoarder, like, we cannot waste this, wait, like there's gonna be a famine, like we have to take it home. But it made me realize, okay, so this is an unhealthy relationship with food that I have, that I feel like I have to like hoard it and put it in my fridge and like save it for later for the next few weeks. But it was the cult mentality of, I don't know, just like when you're raised that way, you just have this very unhealthy, and then also like you have to finish your plate. So then you have an unhealthy like relationship with food to where you're like stuffing yourself because you cannot waste it, which is unhealthy for yourself. Took me years to grow out of that, years, and it took practicing, going to restaurants and being okay with them taking the food. Do you know how many times like I would never don't take my plate, but then I had to be like, okay, It's fine. You're not even gonna eat it. It's fine. It's like retraining your brain, especially too when you come from a huge family. Like my family was 10 kids, and my mom, whenever there was like good food, it was not in the house for a long time because there's 10 kids eating it. And it was like a race to the finish line. Like you had to eat as fast as you could, or you were not going to get the good food because it was going to be gone. I work back and forth between food addiction and disordered eating. See, this is something that and this might just be my perspective. I believe everybody has an eating disorder. I know that sounds weird, but listen to this. Especially the way America says the food pyramid, right? That food pyramid was wrong. And then to know your body well enough to know what your body wants, what's especially when you think of people in their generations of their family, right? If going back years, if they lived by the ocean and they ate a lot of fish, then naturally their bodies can digest the fish better, right? So their bodies like being pescatarian. But then there's like groups of people that lived inland, right? And they lived off of grains and stuff. So the body processes it. But anyways, I feel like there's a lot of us that don't even know we have like gluten intolerance. There's a lot of us that don't know we have dairy intolerance. So we're over here like gorging ourselves on things that our body hates. Or to me, I feel like I resonate with you where there's times where I'm like just eating, and then I'm like, I don't know why I feel sick. And then I go all the way to the other side of the spectrum where I will just have like lentils, and I will have my all of my nutrients. I'll have my zinc, I'll have my iron, I'll have my omegas, I'll have my fish oils. And it feels like eating is a chore because I just need to make sure I'm getting what my body needs. But I feel better when I'm doing that versus just blindly eating what my friends and family and whoever's eating what. So yeah, I don't think everyone has an eating disorder, meaning everyone's anorexic or everyone's a binge eater or everyone's. I just mean like we all have a disordered way of looking at food because of marketing and how America's taught us wrong and how they're feeding us poison. Like it's so hard to know what your body really needs. Like I'm frustrated that I'm in my 20s and I still am like, I don't know. I don't know what my body wants. I know that I feel better when I'm eating very, very like raw and fresh foods, but there's some times where I randomly feel sick and I'm like, I don't know why. It's really annoying. I had a dairy intolerance and didn't know for like 10 years because I thought it was normal to feel sick after eating. Yeah, I think I have a dairy intolerance because I can have a little bit of cheese. It might just be processed because I'm fine with cottage cheese. But if it's certain milks and certain cheeses, I just feel like bloated and sick and puffy, and I love cheese, but I don't love how it makes me feel. There is a company called Wild Health that analyzes your makeup and tells you everything health, diet, allergy wise. I'm screenshotting that. Thank you, Allie. I need answers. Nobody ever sat at the table for a long time. We just ate it. Yeah. I almost wonder if it's the parents that were raised in the Great Depression, then they started to live in that lifestyle of you finish your food because of the Great Depression, maybe? Oh yeah, Marie, she says when you learn about the cruelty towards cows in the dairy, yeah, that's part of what made me go vegan. I watched, I think it was Cowspiracy and What the Health, and I went vegan for 2 full years after that because I multiple reasons, but the main one was thinking of how crooked it is and how I also feel like what they're feeding the cows, what they're feeding the animals that we eat is poison. So if I feel like if I ever became big into eating meat again, I would have to know the farmers and get it from a reliable source. I'd never, when I go to the stores, I never buy meat unless it's like my sister's asking me to pick up chicken or something for them. But the only meats that I will get is like fish. And even fish, I'm like, I don't know, it's probably mercury in there. I just have to eat the dirt outside, and then that's the only thing that's not poisoned by the government. I'm just kidding. It's not even the government. I think it's just these big corporations. Maybe it is the government. Big corporations that get really greedy. But, and now too, your water. You shouldn't be drinking water out of plastic water bottles. It needs to be out of glass. We're doomed, you guys. Part of me is like, maybe I need to just move out of America. America's a cult. If I drink whole milk, I'll vomit. Cheese and yogurt are okay, but the process for making them changes the lactose. Yeah, I definitely feel there's a difference in cheeses versus milks versus cottage cheese. Yeah, it's the process. You said that really well. Wow, we got on, this kind of felt like a Patreon live because we got on so many different topics. But I hope you guys had a happy Mother's Day. I hope that if you're lactose intolerant, you're not eating any cheese. I hope that you all are having a wonderful day. I'm gonna go, but if you want to hang out some more on Patreon, we go live every Monday, so we'll hang out tomorrow. And I will be coming out with a video this week. I filmed it already. Tell me what you guys think of the title. Getting annoyed at polygamous men. I watched some clips of Cody Brown. I watched some clips of Tom Green. I watched some clips of, to be honest, I hate saying this, but I think Cody Brown is my favorite, my not as hated, my least hated, I don't want to say favorite, my least hated polygamous man to watch, because at least there's entertainment. At least I laugh at like the crazy things he says. But Tom Green makes me feel sick to my stomach because he's marrying underage women. And then I also watched this documentary of, you know, the polygamists that blew out to make caves and homes in the caves of Utah. I didn't like watching that one, but at least Cody Brown is so, he says like the most out there stuff that it's hysterical. So, isn't that weird to say that I actually like watching him over any of the other polygamists? And I think it's because at least he knows that they can't publicly talk about going forward on underage women and cousins and stuff like that, whereas Tom Green knows no bounds. He's like, if Tom Green literally said if they're old enough to have a period, they're old enough to be a mother. Tom Green is, I'm so glad he's dead, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm glad that he's no longer tormenting the women anymore. It's the noodle hair for me, Amanda. I know. He even looks funny, you guys. He says funny stuff and he looks funny. I like that title. It's funny. Okay, what did I say again? Getting annoyed at polygamous men. Yeah, so that's coming out hopefully. I think I'm going to share it with the Patreon first, and you guys can tell me what you think of it. Help me pick out your favorite thumbnail, and then we'll post it this week. But yeah, I filmed it all. I just have to put the clips with the footage. But thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see most of you guys tomorrow on Patreon. And then the rest of you will see me next week or enjoy my video on polygamous men this week. Okay. Yeah, Red Rock Ranch. I can always forget the name of but yeah, if you guys want to watch documentaries on the Red Rock Ranch, it's just a bunch of polygamists that live in the rocks. I kept trying to figure out if I'm related to them, because I'm related to like every polygamist ever, but these polygamists, their names are not familiar. So I'm like, where did these guys come from? Anyway, love you guys. Bye. Have a great rest of your Mother's Day. Okay, bye.